Confidence, real confidence, is not something you put on like a coat when you walk out of the door. It is not painted on your face like makeup, nor sewn into the fabric of the clothes you wear. It is something that rises up from the core of your being, from the foundation of knowing who you truly are. The tragedy of so many lives is that they are spent chasing the applause of people, seeking approval in the shifting sands of opinion. One day you are celebrated, and the next day you are forgotten. One moment people praise you, and the next they tear you down. If you build your confidence on such a foundation, you will forever leave on unstable ground, tossed back and forth by the winds of human judgment. But there is a firmer place to stand. There is a truth deeper than opinion and more lasting than praise. It is the truth that you were created with intention, that you were shaped by the hands of a God who does not make mistakes. When you understand that your worth is not determined by your status, your looks, or your achievements, something shifts inside of you. Suddenly, you no longer need to strive so desperately for acceptance. You realize that you are already accepted, already loved, already chosen. That knowledge changes the way you walk into a room. It changes the way you carry yourself when you face challenges. It even changes the way you respond when life brings rejection. Instead of shrinking back in insecurity or puffing yourself up in pride, you stand steady because you know who you are. Think for a moment about the countless women who have lived before us, women who were overlooked by the world but treasured by God. Some had no wealth, no fame, no outward beauty to speak of, yet their confidence radiated from the inside out. They were unshaken because their foundation was solid. They were not moved by whether people applauded or ignored them. Their strength came from knowing that their identity was secure in something higher, greater, and unchanging. And when a woman finds that kind of security, she becomes unstoppable. Many of you listening today may feel the weight of comparison pressing against your soul. You scroll through endless images of people who seem more beautiful, more successful, more loved. You hear voices telling you that you are not enough, not smart enough, not talented enough, not strong enough. Those voices are loud, but they are not true. They are lies meant to rob you of the confidence that belongs to you. You cannot silence those lies by working harder to prove yourself. You silence them by resting in truth. You silence them by declaring that your value is not up for debate. It was established long before anyone had an opinion of you. Confidence rooted in identity does not mean arrogance. It is not about elevating yourself above others. Instead, it produces humility because you no longer need to compete for worth. You no longer have to fight for attention. You no longer strive to win approval because your worth is already established. Humility and confidence walk hand in hand when they are anchored in identity. You can look at another woman and celebrate her success without feeling threatened. You can walk into an opportunity without fear of failure, because failure does not define you. You can even face criticism without collapsing, because criticism does not hold the power to name you. This kind of confidence cannot be shaken by circumstance. Jobs can be lost, relationships can end, beauty can fade, but identity rooted in truth remains. Imagine a tree planted by streams of water. Storms may come, winds may blow, but that tree stands tall because its roots go deep. That is what happens when a woman roots her confidence in her identity. She does not crumble under pressure, nor does she sway with every passing trend. She stands firm, and in doing so, she becomes a light for others. The most magnetic women you will ever meet are not necessarily the ones society would label as perfect. They may not wear the finest clothes or have the most glamorous lives, but there is something about them that draws you in. They radiate a quiet strength, a calm assurance, a joy that cannot be shaken. That is the magnetism of true confidence. It is not a performance. It is not a mask. It is the natural overflow of a woman who knows who she is and whose she is. And so I urge you today, stop looking in the mirror of the world to find your reflection. Stop measuring yourself against standards that were never meant to define you. Lift your eyes higher and remember that your worth has already been declared. Confidence begins the moment you believe that truth, not just in your head, but in your heart. Once that truth takes root, you will walk differently, speak differently, and live differently. People will notice, not because you are trying to impress them, but because confidence rooted in identity cannot be hidden. It shines, it radiates, and it draws others to the same unshakable foundation that gave you your strength. Authenticity is one of the rarest treasures in our world today. So many leave behind masks, performing roles they believe will earn them acceptance, approval, or applause. They measure their worth by how convincing their performance appears to others, but deep within, they are weary, because pretending takes more strength than simply being who they are. Yet, the truth is, the most magnetic presence a woman can carry is not perfection, it is authenticity. When you stop striving to become someone else, when you embrace the uniqueness of who you were created to be, your life shines with a light no one can duplicate. There is a quiet power in a woman who refuses to live as an imitation. She does not waste her energy trying to copy the voice, the style, or the path of another. Instead, she stands secure in her own story. She knows her scars, but she does not hide them. She knows her weaknesses, but she does not allow them to shame her. She walks with honesty, and that honesty becomes like a magnet. People are drawn to her not because she is flawless, but because she is real. They see in her a reflection of what they long for themselves, the freedom to live unmasked. The world often shouts that you must strive harder, do more, and keep up with impossible standards. It tells you that your worth is found in appearing untouchable, in curating the perfect image, in presenting yourself as though nothing ever rattles you. But the world's standards are a prison. They keep women trapped in a cycle of comparison, forever chasing the next thing that promises confidence but never delivers. Authenticity, on the other hand, breaks the chains. It says, I will not live by false measures. I will stand in truth. I will embrace my story, my gifts, my calling, and my voice. When a woman embraces authenticity, she gives others permission to do the same. Her life becomes a safe place. People trust her words not because they are polished, but because they come from the heart. They believe in her presence not because she never stumbles, but because she admits when she does. Authenticity connects in ways that image never can. It builds bridges across differences, it softens hardened hearts, and it speaks louder than the most eloquent performance. There is a temptation to think that if you are transparent, people will reject you, but more often than not, authenticity produces the opposite. It draws others to you, for in a world where so many are pretending, truth stands out, realness is magnetic. Think of the women you admire most in your own life. Chances are it is not their appearance that made the lasting impact on you. It was the way they made you feel seen. It was the courage with which they lived honestly without pretense. It was the way they carried both strength and vulnerability together. Authenticity is not an excuse to remain stagnant, nor does it mean exposing every detail of your life to everyone you meet. It means living with integrity. It means what people see on the outside matches what is true on the inside. It means refusing to wear a mask in order to gain love or respect. There is a peace that comes with such integrity. You no longer fear being found out because there is nothing to hide. You no longer dread losing approval because approval is no longer your master. Instead, you live free, and that freedom is radiant. When you walk in authenticity, even your flaws become part of your testimony. What once brought shame becomes a story of strength. What once felt like weakness becomes a doorway for others to find hope. The cracks in your life allow light to shine through, and that light reaches places perfection never could. People are not inspired by your pretending, they are inspired by your perseverance. They are not moved by a flawless image. They are moved by a real soul who refuses to quit. In the quiet moments of your life, ask yourself, am I living as the woman I was created to be, or am I living as a reflection of others' expectations? Am I chasing applause, or am I walking in truth? These are sobering questions, but they hold the key to freedom. For when you live authentically, you no longer carry the exhausting burden of performance. You walk lighter. You speak clearer, you love deeper, and the magnetism of authenticity cannot be denied. It is not loud or showy, yet it commands attention. It does not beg to be noticed, yet it leaves a mark wherever it goes. People may not remember your outfit, your accomplishments, or your outward appearance, but they will remember the way your authenticity made them feel, safe, valued, encouraged, and inspired. That is the power of living without a mask. So today, let go of the performance, lay down the heavy mask. Stop striving to meet expectations that were never meant to define you. Choose truth over image. Choose sincerity over performance. Choose to live in the freedom of authenticity. And as you do, you will find that your very presence begins to radiate with a magnetism that cannot be explained, only felt. It is the kind of light that draws others closer, not just to you, but to the hope, peace, and love that gave you the courage to live true. Courage is not the absence of fear, and it is not the absence of trembling knees or racing hearts. Courage is the decision to step forward even when fear whispers in your ear that you cannot. Too many wait until they feel fearless before they act, and so they never act at all. Confidence does not grow in the stillness of waiting for fear to disappear. It grows in the furnace of action. Every time you take a step despite your trembling, every time you push forward when doubt surrounds you, something inside of you strengthens. Confidence is not born in comfort. It is born in those moments when you choose to rise, when you choose to move, when you choose to believe that God's strength within you is greater than the fear before you. Think of the great women of history, women who faced odds stacked high against them. Many of them did not begin with an unshakable confidence. They began with small steps of bravery. They stood in places they were told they did not belong. They spoke words they were told to keep silent. They pressed forward when everything in them could have retreated, and each time they acted, their courage multiplied. That is the pattern of growth. One step leads to another, one victory leads to the next, and before long, the woman who once thought she could not becomes the woman others look to for strength. There will always be voices around you that say you are not enough. There will always be circumstances that threaten to paralyze you with fear. But courage is not about waiting for perfect conditions. It is about taking the step with what you have, right where you are, and trusting that more will come as you move. The waters do not part until the feet touch them. The mountain does not move until faith begins to climb. It is in the stepping that confidence is born, and in the doing that strength is found. Some of you carry dreams deep within your hearts, but fear has built a wall around them. You tell yourself you will try when the time feels right, when you are stronger, when you are wiser, when you have more resources. Yet days pass into years, and the wall remains. The truth is, the perfect moment will never come. You must choose to act in the imperfection of now. That first attempt may be messy, you may stumble, you may fall, but even in the falling, courage grows. Even in the stumbling, lessons are learned, and every lesson prepares you for the next step forward. Confidence does not mean you never fail. It means you refuse to be defined by failure. Failure is not the end, it is a teacher. Failure is not your enemy, it is the soil in which resilience grows. The most courageous people are not those who never fall, but those who rise again and again, refusing to let defeat have the final word. Each rise strengthens the heart. Each rise tells fear that it has no power here. Each rise declares that confidence is greater than hesitation. When you begin to live this way, others will notice. They will see a light in you that compels them to step out of their own fears. Courage is contagious. When you walk with boldness, you give others permission to do the same. A mother's courage inspires her children. A friend's courage strengthens her circle. A leader's courage lifts an entire generation. Never underestimate the ripple effect of one brave step. The confidence you build does not stay within you. It spreads, igniting courage in those around you. And yet, courage must be practiced daily. It is not a single decision made once for all. It is a choice you face in the quiet moments of life, when you choose honesty instead of silence, when you choose faith over worry, when you choose to stand rather than shrink back. Each of these small choices builds into a life of great confidence. Courage, like a muscle, grows only when exercised. Ignore it and it weakens, use it and it strengthens. There will be times when fear screams louder than faith, when the path ahead looks too uncertain, when the voices of doubt rise like a storm. In those moments, remember that courage does not require you to feel fearless. It requires you to step forward while fear still lingers. It is that act of defiance against fear that produces the magnetism of confidence. People are not drawn to those who never feel fear. They are drawn to those who face it and press forward anyway. So rise today, take that step, speak that word, begin that journey. Do not wait until you feel ready, for readiness comes in the doing. The more you walk in courage, the more your confidence will radiate. And soon you will find yourself living a life that others look at and say, there is strength there is resilience there is a woman who chose to move forward when it would have been easier to sit down. That is the power of courage. That is the path to unshakable confidence. Love is the greatest force a woman can radiate. It is stronger than beauty, more lasting than charm, more compelling than power. True magnetism is not found in drawing eyes to yourself, but in drawing hearts through compassion. When a woman chooses to live with love, she becomes unforgettable. Long after her words are forgotten, long after her appearance fades from memory, the way she made others feel remains etched in their hearts. Love is not weakness. The world often confuses tenderness with fragility, but it takes far greater strength to forgive than to retaliate, to comfort than to criticize, to lift others rather than to push them down. A woman who radiates love is not naive. She has often walked through valleys of pain herself. She knows sorrow, she knows rejection, she knows struggle. Yet instead of letting bitterness harden her, she lets those wounds deepen her well of compassion. And from that well flows a love that touches everyone she encounters. There is a magnetism in kindness that no amount of outward glamour can rival. You may forget the woman who wore the most dazzling dress in the room, but you will never forget the one who looked into your eyes and made you feel seen. You may forget the one who impressed you with her accomplishments, but you will not forget the one who stood by you when you were hurting. Love leaves a mark. Love etches itself onto the soul, and it radiates outward in ways no performance ever can. So many chase after confidence by trying to appear untouchable. They believe that if they guard their hearts and keep others at a distance, they will seem strong. But the truth is, the greatest confidence comes from the freedom to open yourself in love. The woman who dares to love boldly is not fragile. She is fearless. She understands that even if her love is not always returned, it was never wasted. For every act of love is a seed sown, and in time, those seeds bear fruit in ways unseen. Think about the people who shaped your life most deeply. Were they the loudest? Were they the most outwardly impressive? No, it was the ones who loved you when you least deserved it, the ones who gave when they had little, the ones who believed in you when others doubted. That is the magnetism of love. It lingers, it multiplies. It transforms, and every woman who chooses to radiate love carries that same power within her. Love is also practical. It is not merely words spoken, it is actions taken. It is the smile to the stranger who feels invisible. It is the patience shown when others test your limits. It is the helping hand extended when someone has fallen. It is the courage to speak truth even when it is difficult, because real love does not flatter, it strengthens. Love is not a fleeting feeling, it is a choice made again and again in the little things and the great things. There is also grace in love, grace that refuses to hold grudges, grace that offers second chances, grace that believes the best even after seeing the worst. This grace is not natural to us, it is a gift that flows through us when we open our hearts, and when a woman carries grace, she carries an atmosphere with her. She changes rooms without trying because her presence brings peace. She lifts burdens without knowing because her words breathe hope. That is why love is magnetic, because every soul longs for it, and when it is found, it cannot be ignored. To radiate love is not to ignore your own needs or to allow yourself to be diminished. On the contrary, it is to live from such a place of strength and confidence that you can freely pour into others without losing yourself. A cup that is empty cannot overflow, but a woman who knows her worth, who walks in courage, who lives authentically, has an abundance to give. She does not love out of desperation, she loves out of fullness, and that fullness draws others, not to her image, but to the light she carries. Love is the thread that weaves confidence and magnetism together. Without it, confidence becomes cold pride, and magnetism becomes shallow attraction. With it, confidence becomes warm assurance, and magnetism becomes a beacon of hope. The world is full of women who shine for a moment because of external beauty, but it is the woman who radiates love who shines for a lifetime. Her influence does not fade when her youth fades. Her presence does not diminish with time. Instead, it deepens, it expands, and it continues to echo in the lives she touched. So I urge you, let love be your radiance. Let it guide your steps, shape your words, and fill your actions. Do not underestimate the power of a kind word, the strength of a forgiving heart, or the beauty of a gentle spirit. These things are not small. They are the very essence of true greatness, and when you live in such a way, you will not need to strive to be magnetic. You will simply be, for love itself is irresistible. It is the one force that conquers fear, bridges divides, heals wounds, and lights the darkest paths. Radiate it, and you will carry a confidence and magnetism that no one can deny.